Hello and welcome to the Histories, Mysteries, Bigfoot edition. Today we will discuss one of the most famous cryptids there is. We will have some time near the end for everyone to share their own Bigfoot stories, so hold tight to those and please speak up if you have any questions or comments. All right, the basics. In the beginning, there was a news story. In 1958, journalist Andrew Genzoli of the Humboldt Times highlighted a fun, if dubious, letter from a reader about loggers in Northern California who discovered mysteriously large footprints. Maybe we have a relative of the abominable snowman of the Himalayas, Genzoli jokingly wrote in his September 21st column alongside the letter. Later, Genzoli said that he simply thought that the mysterious footprints would make a good Sunday morning story. But to his surprise, it really fascinated readers. In response, Genzoli and a few Humboldt Times journalists, Betty Allen, published follow-up articles about the footprints, reporting the name the loggers had given to the so-called creature called Bigfoot. And so this is how a creature that had been known long before 1958 came to be called Bigfoot. What we know about the creature varies wildly, but the basic description seems to be a large, hairy, human-like creature, variably described as a primate ranging from 6 to 15 feet tall, standing erect on 2 feet, often giving off a foul smell and either moving silently or emitting a high-pitched cry. Footprints have measured up to 24 inches in length and 8 inches in width. What we know of as Bigfoot or Sasquatch has many names all over the world. And most of us know the sightings in the northwestern part of the United States, but the East Coast has seen its fair share of sightings. Interestingly, there have been little to no documented sightings in the middle of the United States, which is, if it's to be believed, kind of makes sense, as its habitat is said to be deep forest. Every location has its own name for this mysterious creature. From Simsaque in Nicaragua to Skunk Ape in Florida, each creature has stories of a primate-like creature hidden in the wilds. And I wanted to share this really interesting Google map that I had come across, that somebody has compiled a list of all of the sightings of Bigfoot in the entire world. And it's fascinating to look at, honestly, because most of us just think of like the scattered sightings here in the United States, but it's all over the world that all kinds of different cultures have seen some kind of creature fitting that description. And this site is really nice because you can click on each one and it tells you the name. It gives you kind of a description where they found it, and kind of explains a little bit more about what they saw, which is really interesting. Some of them have pictures and some of them don't. But I thought that was absolutely fascinating. So let's go into the evidence. So some examples of evidence have included photos, video, and foot casts, and some hair, which we will talk about a little bit later.
This next one is a news clip, and they were talking to a prominent veterinarian who said that she can prove that Bigfoot exists. She took an analysis of Sasquatch fur after a 5-year study of more than 100 DNA samples, because she asked for everybody and anybody to send in what they thought was Bigfoot fur. And Dr. Melba Ketchum believes the species developed 15,000 years ago, and is a hybrid cross between Homo sapiens and an unknown primate. There have been innumerable sightings. Some Sasquatch hunters have even deigned to speak to Conan O'Brien, which is interesting. And she says these are not just animals. They are a type of people, and they don't want to be seen, and they don't want to be found. Um, so that was really interesting that she's like a prominent veterinarian, and she's done all of these DNA tests. And there was quite a few samples that there wasn't any real thing to explain what this DNA was. So she attributed that to Bigfoot. And this next one that we're going to look at, I invite everybody to chime in kind of your thoughts on, because it's really interesting. 15 most convincing Bigfoot sightings. So we'll go through and I'll let you guys chime in what you think, because I thought it was really interesting. All right, so feel free to unmute yourself and whatnot. This first one is supposedly a Bigfoot mother picking up her child and running off into the woods. Oh, not too far. And what it's interesting because you can almost like see facial features like right in here. It looks like a gorilla to me, but I don't know.
It looks like it looks like a gorilla. It looks like a mama and child. The video is really natural movement. It's full of natural movement, and it looks very convincing. I don't know why this was number 15. This should be like number 1.
Yeah, I just thought it was like interesting, like because at first like it looks like a gorilla up here, but then like the legs and stuff below are like peopling.
Yeah. We can't watch the video. We can't show the video in here, but the video is the video looks like a mother carrying a child walking away from somebody, the same as a mother carries a child and walks away from somebody in a mall. It's really convincing. It's a long, very clear video. It's really interesting.
We've had someone ask if we could play the video.
Oh yeah, we can't do it on here, but I will definitely share the link at the end of the program.
I guess there was some YouTube copyright stuff
Yeah.
that we couldn't do.
YouTube's
Right.
kind of funny about it.
Yeah.
All right, do we have any more comments?
It looks like a gorilla, except when it stands up, and then it has a very human shape, its legs.
Yeah, it's really strange.
It's a
Like
strange video.
All right, next one that we're gonna do. Yeah, it's really strange there. Okay, so this is a little puppy dog. They strap like a GoPro to him, and as he's walking through the woods, you can see a figure, like kind of like walk by. I don't know what I think of it because the dog didn't seem to react at all. He just kind of kept going. So
But the figure looks a lot like the two figures in the first video.
Mhm.
Were they filmed near the same area, or were they in different spots?
I don't think it told you. It does look really
Okay.
similar though.
It's a still video.
Yeah, it's just a still from the video.
Yeah,
Okay,
since we can't.
I
technically
can't
play it.
tell from either of those what that is because the quality of the photo is so poor.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the nature of the GoPro. I think like the video cameras everybody are using is just really terrible quality.
I had to. I helped to edit the videos because we have to cut them up in order to show this. We can't show like a video. And the thing that struck me about this is that there is there's somebody who recorded this with their dog in the woods, and they saw something come across the screen. They were there and they can't explain it. And I'm trying to put myself in the place of somebody who was there with the camera and then felt compelled to share this with everybody. I don't know. I do think the dog would have been like, I don't know what the dog would have done. I don't know dogs, but like if you find this, if you're the person who's recording this and you have no explanation for it and you want to share it, these are also all these videos that we've got 15 of these to look at, and they're so incremental, they're so blurry, they're so of the moment. I feel like the person who recorded it and shares it is sharing it because they don't have an explanation themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is one of the ones like, and I'll make sure to share the link for the video and stuff at the end. But like, this is one of the ones that I wasn't sure what I thought of it, just because like I really feel like that dog would have reacted more, because he just seemed to just go about his little merry way to keep going and whatnot. And animals, especially dogs, react like a lot to people, so I would assume that they would react to like some kind of creature. This is the other one that okay, it just makes me laugh because I'm like, okay, this is like painful to look at because it just looks really bad. I know, I hate looking at it too. It creeps me out. It just, oh.
He's really scary looking.
He is. He's terrifying. And like the video and stuff is like weirdly dark, so you really only see him, and it's like it cuts out really soon afterwards. So it really looks like somebody in a mask.
Yeah,
like,
I'm
kind of like
suspicious of that one.
Me too. I laughed really hard, but then they kept zooming, and I'm like, I can't.
So scary. Still don't like it.
Video catches them looking, the creature. The creature is looking and then turns and runs. But look at the picture we have now. Like there's no like lens flare or camera flare in the eyes.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, like, let me go back a little bit.
So it's an albino Bigfoot?
Supposedly. Which I mean, there's about albino, all kinds of creatures and stuff. But yeah, like runs away and stuff. It's weird.
It's spooky.
It's really spooky and weird. And I just
see like a red eye.
I don't like it.
Red eye, I would think you'd see a red eye lens flare. Well, this one is really interesting.
This one was fascinating. Like this one was really fascinating. So it's like a couple that had went hiking and they see something like moving on the hillside. And like you can tell that whatever this is huge to be able to see it from like that distance.
Yeah. It's a big dark body. It's a big dark human body on a like humanoid body on a ridgetop. It's really it's got a lot of presence. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, what do you guys think?
I would just wonder, didn't someone have a way to come closer at that point? Because it looks like this thing is not deep within any kind of forest. It's just out roaming around. Does anybody, once they see this, go closer to it to find out what it is?
No, they just said that they saw something and like zoomed in because like, let me see if I can go back. You can kind of tell like there's a huge like valley between them and like that other side.
Okay, so that's why they can't get any closer to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, no, there's a huge valley between like where they are and stuff. But like comparing it to these trees, that whatever that is humongous. So that one, I'm like, okay, I can vibe with this one. I can vibe with that one.
Yeah, that one's weird to me because it's like it's just an
Hey.
extremely person, you know.
Oh yeah, this one was creepy as heck. So when you guys actually watch the video, this one will creep you out. And I don't blame them for running because oh my god. So like you see the shape is like sitting down or something and you can't quite tell what it is. And then suddenly it stands up and it's really big.
Yeah.
And like you can see like the arm and stuff sort of like off to the right, like you can see where the arm is versus the rest of the body. And this one is not very long. Like obviously the people just ran away because that's terrifying.
Oh, it's always the question, like, do you stay to record with like?
I would
if
stay at this point because I want evidence.
Oh, heck
Yes,
no.
I would.
I would be out of there so fast. Like absolutely not.
Gwen would stick around.
I think that I would, because I mean, just think of the potential if you really have spotted something that people have been unable to find since the beginning of time, and suddenly you have a chance to find it and see what it really is. I don't think I could pass that up.
Yeah, I agree.
I could get it, but I'm such a chicken. I can't. I would see this thing moving and be like, okay, bye guys, I'm out.
And yeah, I guess I can kind of see that too. But I wonder, aren't some of the people who are out in the woods in these situations hunters who, you know, if they had to defend themselves, could? And so I just wonder,
In
why
one of
don't
the
they get
later
closer?
in one of the later videos, they were talking about that they were out for like a walk, like a regular walk, but it was like prime hunting season. And they were saying that nobody in their right mind would be walking around in a gorilla suit or something during prime hunting season. So I
That's
was just
true.
like, okay,
You
yeah.
never know.
Well, we'll get to that in a little bit in the local section.
Okay, so this one I couldn't really see very well. Like when I
Oh,
watched it, like you can kind of see what they're talking about.
the skunk ape.
Back. So he's like canoeing around and like he thought that he saw a bear, but it's like way bigger than a bear. And this must be in Florida since they're calling it a skunk ape.
Right.
Did he smell it?
Maybe.
I mean, they say that they smell really bad. So
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that.
Being on a boat in a swamp, seeing a really big dark creature, you know, and filming it sounds like a really complicated, you know, complicated way to spend your afternoon.
It sounds like heart attack territory because you can't get away quickly when you're in a boat.
Right, you're already worried about all the other things that are in a swamp in Florida while you're trying to film on a boat.
Yeah.
To see something that's like, you know, big and hairy, you know, maybe 40 feet away. I think that's the best he could do.
yeah, I feel like they maybe could have gotten a little better shot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I was like, I can't see anything. So I kept like having to zoom and look around and stuff. But when you watch the video, you can kind of see it move.
I can't
Like
tell what
Richard.
that's supposed to be.
Yeah, it looks like a vine almost.
Yeah.
I kind of see it a little bit more now.
Yeah, in that one. Yeah, because you can kind of see like the
The
lump.
back.
Hmm.
He knows that being in Florida, he's invalidated, kind of.
It's probably worried about gators.
Yeah. Okay, so this This next one is really funny because this person is like running away, and it looks like they're running away from whatever the thing is, but they're not, because this was part of like an assignment or something. So they needed a clip of somebody like running towards the camera for some kind of video assignment. So they were literally just out here filming this dude run towards them when something runs in the background.
Wow.
So this one really did kind of make me crack up, because I'm like, he's just running away and he doesn't realize there's a thing behind him.
Yeah. The clip of this is really weird because they're filming a scene. If you can go back to it, can you go back to it for a second? Like, the dude is running on his own, just unself-aware. He's just running. He's thinking about the scene. And behind him, this really big black creature runs straight across the camera. And neither one of them are thinking about each other. But what a thing to capture. Like, you're like, according to the video that this is a part of, like, it got some flack because they thought this was a fake of some kind. But like, the dude running has no idea that the big black creature is running. The big black creature doesn't really care about the dude. It's just it's just capturing a moment in wilderness. It's like the same thing as seeing like a deer running across the road, but instead you're watching like a really big dark creature running across the camera. It's a really strange video. It's really, if you can watch the actual video, it's really weird. It's only.
Are we going to send out the link afterwards? Maybe
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Because it's hard to tell with the stills and stuff. I was really annoyed that we couldn't show like the video.
Yeah.
Because this one has no explanation, because it's weird. It looks like a big, dark, hair covered human running. That's what it looks like. It doesn't. There's really no explanation for it. There's no reason for it. It's so it's just a random aberration of a video. This one's crazy.
This one was also kind of hard to see. It's like off to the side, and like, so you can see it in this one. It's like this body.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
It almost looks like an arrow.
Yeah, almost. But like in the video, like you can see them like walking and stuff, and it walks like a person. But again, it's got to be really huge to show up. Did we have stuff in the chat?
Yeah, there's somebody, Mark Ridnour in chat was said, play the video. This one's real. You got to see the video.
Well, I think this one is interesting because it's just a camera that was set up to film baby birds.
Yeah.
So, it just randomly picks up this image that they can't explain.
Yeah, that's
It
what
makes
I
it a
thought.
little more compelling.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I'm like, because there's no like alternative
Right.
thing for it. They're just watching baby birds, and a thing goes by and they're like, I don't know what that is. This one was like another one where they saw like something kind of moving through, and you can kind of see in this one the legs.
Can I explain what I?
Yes,
this
please
one,
do.
You asked me to edit these down. This one's kind of goofy. There's a family that they're way out in the country and they're practicing sharpshooting, and there's a.
Hey, Mason, just
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. It looks like they're having trouble hearing you in chat.
Okay.
Can you turn your sound up, or do you have any?
Yeah, I'll try.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but there's just been a
No,
couple
it's
of
okay.
comments.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me know. Can you hear me better now?
Sounds better to me, but let's see what they say.
Okay.
But clearer.
Yeah, it's clearer for me.
That better? Okay. I've got a dumb headset that actually has a microphone, and I really don't want to be Garth Brooks, but you know, he's
Do
okay.
it.
He's okay. He sang at the inauguration. So this this clip is really interesting. It's hard to see. I don't know why it's in this compilation of best footage ever, but what it is a family in the foreground, and they're practicing sharpshooting. And when the gun goes off, a a a tall, dark creature jumps and runs. And the family who was filming it was like, they also at the same time heard a helicopter chasing. So the premise of this video, the whole principle of this particular clip is that like they wondered if there was a helicopter pursuing a Bigfoot. I don't know about that. That doesn't really hold much water. What I do see is like a large, tall, dark figure startled at the sound of a gunshot, and then it runs, and then in the next frame it takes up like this. It goes from running like a person to taking up kind of like an on all fours kind of like gorilla stance at the end of the video. I wonder if we have the still from that part of it, because it looks like it jumps, runs like a human, and then takes like a four on the floor kind of stance. But it's just one, this is like one of the most convincing, one of the unexplained pieces of footage that Tiffany that we picked out. There's the guy, a dark figure, really tall, and then it crouches down, and the crouch down part is a part that is the thing that like people assume like a human probably wouldn't do. So that's the explanation for that.
Okay, I managed to put the video in chat, so everybody can kind of go watch it in your leisure time, or if there's one that sparks your interest.
Cool. Okay.
And we've got it pulled up, and I can see the figure after the gun goes off start to apparently run away. It seems to be moving like a person from everything that I can see.
Yeah.
That's what I thought too.
So could it just be like someone randomly caught out there unawares, and maybe they're wearing a lot of gear or clothing?
That would be a heck of a oh my God, what is that? Somebody's shooting at me.
Devil's advocate.
I think there are more convincing videos than this one. This one's interesting because I guess their point was that it like takes on like a four on the floor kind of stance at the end of it. I don't know
So
if
it runs like a bear or an ape or something.
If I was a person, I wouldn't go like, oh, they're shooting guns, and then like immediately like
drop to all fours.
Drop to all fours. I don't think I would do that as a dude.
Might be tipping down.
It's just crouching down, trying to take cover or something.
Sure. Yeah. Right. So let's. What's the next one though? That was number. What number was that?
Yeah, where are we?
Yeah.
We are on.
That's not what a skunk ape.
That's number 7. We're on 7.
All right. Okay.
Not a skunk ape. We're not in Florida. Yeah, this one's like up on the hill.
So there's a family sledding.
Okay,
and
there he goes.
There's a tall, dark stranger.
Up on the ridge there.
Yeah.
Oh,
there.
Oh, okay. Now I see him.
There you go.
That one I think could possibly be a person, because like you can see that it's sort of the same size ratio, sort of a very tall person, but
Again,
think
it's just
what's-
too far
yeah.
away.
Yeah.
We need
You know
some up
what's-
close videos, y'all.
Exactly.
What Mitch Hedberg said about Bigfoot, the problem with Bigfoot is that he's fuzzy. So it's
Every
hard.
time.
It's hard. It's hard being fuzzy.
He's just literally blurry. He's
Yeah.
But that's
so
why he's
blurry.
hiding so hard, because he
He's
feels
embarrassed.
awkward about that.
He's
I have the
embarrassed
same
because
problem
he's
when I'm
blurry.
shopping. Yeah, exactly. It's
He's like, I'm not in focus like the rest of you. I'm sorry.
oh, this is interesting. This is cool. Can I
Yes.
share? Like, this piece of footage is a bright red-haired,
Ah,
tall humanoid, and it's walking, and it's tall, and it's shaggy and red, and it doesn't look like a person at all. It looks like a Muppet or something. It's not a human. It's just a big, shaggy, red, dark forest creature. The video is really convincing. Do we have more than one clip of it? I mean, can you go back a sec? Because it's like, yeah, there you go. You saw it. Like, the thing that's convincing about these videos is that when you watch the video, you can see, at one point you can see like the color of the person or the character. You can see the shape of them, but then you see the way they move, and it's the combination of the color, the shape, and the movement, and all those things together, plus the weird idiosyncratic situation, like, if it's random, if it's just a random video, that a moment in this person's camping trip when they see someone that's 6 feet tall, and you can tell that it's accidental, it's not intentional, you can tell it's not a setup. Like, this is a very tall, dark red human, shaggy human that they caught just a glimpse of. That's kind of convincing, right? I like this one.
I mean, that one looks more like an animal than the other ones did.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Most of the other ones, I think, looked more like people who were maybe disguised, or people who were just so out of focus on the film that you couldn't tell exactly what they were. But to me, this looks pretty much like an orangutan.
Yeah.
It's that color.
Yeah, it looks like a wildlife video. It doesn't look like a setup. It doesn't look like some kind of test with a camera. It looks like a picture of wildlife.
Yeah, that one I had a hard time seeing too. I just love that he's like standing up on the back of this 4-wheeler being like, I seen it, look.
I've seen it.
I don't know. He just doesn't have much credibility with me.
Yeah.
I mean, if you put yourself in that guy's place, like, if you are the one driving a 4-wheeler up a daggum creek, and you see something that makes you want to stop and point at and scream about it, like, I don't know if I care.
I just hope he didn't wreck his 4-wheeler
I know, right?
like seconds after this.
Yeah. Yeah. Next.
Yeah, I think that was probably a harmless hoax prank. This guy's out having a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, this one made me laugh. Like, the police, like, what is that?
And police are excitable.
But again, the fact that it's just caught on like the random
Dash
TV,
cam, yeah.
Right?
or I guess the body armor car footage. What am I trying to say?
Yeah, it's dash
The
cam.
body
That
cam.
makes it interesting.
Oh my gosh. I went back too far.
Yeah, but you don't want to excite them too much.
Yeah, they get excited.
Yeah, you can't really see
What is
it.
that?
Yeah, it's like that's the body of like this thing that just kind of like ran past them. Like you
Out
can
into the middle of the road.
Mhm.
They had to watch this through like a filter or three in order to understand what the cops were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you
have
can't
ever
see it very well.
Right.
Was it at
Yeah.
night?
That's not enough to go on.
No, it's not.
Some random person just running along the side of the road.
That's actually me.
Mason's like nighttime part-time job is to run in the wilderness dressed as Bigfoot. Like I said, he's a Bigfoot hunter, so that one. And of course, it's grainy and you can't see very well, but like.
But this is the most famous footage
Yeah,
ever.
that's the famous one.
And when you look at it, rightfully so, man, like, this is a really old-fashioned, 8mm, whatever, wilderness ready, like, dude with a camera that was only ready to capture like waterfalls and bears. And the footage is just this multiple, like a dozen or 24 seconds long clip, and it's it could have captured a creature, or it could have captured a waterfall or a bear or a deer. But it's really convincing. I think this like deserves to be a famous piece of footage because there's no replicating it. Like, this creature walks across a riverbed, and it walks into the woods, and it glances back, and it does all these things that you can't do if you're faking something. I think it deserves to be famous for that. Like, it's and he doesn't have like, he's got my physique. Like, he's kind of, he's kind of chunky. It's not like a Muppet. It's not like it looks like a, it looks like a randomly captured piece of nature photography. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I hope we get to. I hope you watch that. If you look at nothing else on that video that Tiffany shared, like, it's a really cool video to watch because it's the same as watching like a deer or a bear in the woods, except it's a 6 foot tall, shaggy. Yeah.
Okay, so Bigfoot Mania kind of still continues. Some going as far as creating an entire museum. There's a museum called Expedition Bigfoot, the Sasquatch Museum, that's located near North Georgia, kind of close to the North Carolina and Tennessee convergence there. But I'm going to hand it over to Bobby, and she's going to talk about some local stories.
All right. Can everybody hear me? Are you good? Okay. So I'm going to talk about some of the local Bigfoot lore. Tiffany mentioned every area gives their Bigfoot a name. In North Carolina, he's known as the Beast of the Blue Ridge, and he's been spotted mostly in Western Carolina. We have a group of Bigfoot researchers here in North Carolina called Bigfoot 911, and they were formed in 2014. They have explored the mountains of Western North Carolina searching for Bigfoot. There's about 50 members according to their Facebook page, and they have described the Bigfoot that they have encountered. He was about 8.5 feet tall, and he had long, stringy, matted hair. He kind of looked like a wet dog, and his nose was flat on his face. He resembled a gorilla, and he was muscular. They also have a guy that I couldn't find his name, but he's billed as an expert Bigfoot caller. And I couldn't find any sound clips of North Carolina Bigfoot sounds, but I did find the Oregon Bigfoot researchers. They have recorded some Bigfoot noises. So I thought we could play some of those clips to give you an idea of what Bigfoot's supposed to sound like. And I think there's 3 different ones. It may be different from region to region. I don't know, but this is what they've caught on tape. Oh,
Oh, I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
Let's try this one.
Holy crap.
Okay, that one sounds kind of like an owl.
That almost sounds like an owl to me, like at the end.
That's a 72 Bigfoot.
Wow.
Here's another one.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Oh my
That
goodness.
first one freaks me out though. Like that.
I think the first one's the scariest for me.
Yeah. Here's
If
one.
I
more.
heard that in the woods, I might run.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the last one.
He sounds really upset.
No, that's horrifying. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any sound for North Carolina. So if there's any Bigfoot researchers out there, please record the Beast of the Blue Ridge so we can know if he sounds like that.
Wow.
But there were some other sound clips in different areas. I just picked that one because that had the most variety of sounds. And if Tiffany will pull up that grainy picture that's in that left corner there, this picture was taken in October of 2019. It was taken on St. James Lake here in North Carolina. That's about 50 miles north of Asheville. They took this picture about 2 a.m. And you see in the red circle, there's a sort of a black figure standing there. Bigfoot 911 says that they have seen this particular figure many, many times. He tends to hang around the lake and he roams up and down the shoreline. And I think this is the best picture that they've caught of him so far. And of course, it was, like I said, it was at night, 2 a.m. So it's hard to see. But what do you guys think? Do you think that could be a Bigfoot?
I'm skeptical. I mean, they are Bigfoot 911. So they
Right.
are the people who are making it their business to go out and find Bigfoot. So you find him the first time, you know where he's going to be or where he's likely to be. You go back and you somehow see him again. That second time, aren't you a little bit more prepared to somehow get closer? Don't you have more people with you? Don't you have more equipment with you? Don't you at least have a better camera with you?
Right.
I mean, how do you manage
These are all good questions.
to see him several times and that's the best photo you get?
I had hoped to get some of those guys to come tonight. I was going to see if they could talk to us about their expeditions out there, but unfortunately, I never heard back from anyone in Bigfoot 911. I know that they go out in different groups, so I don't know if it's always the same guy, but I think you raised some pretty valid questions there. But this was the last known sighting that they have listed online. And then there was another sighting back in 2017. This is the Bigfoot Shaman, Tiffany. So this was, we're talking about people, how many people go out in the woods and dress up as Bigfoot. So we have one here in North Carolina. His name is Gavin Mcgregor. He is a self-proclaimed Bigfoot shaman. This is him in his animal suit. He has a website, which is, if you click that link next to it, Tiffany, it'll take you, and there's more pictures of him in his animal attire. He worships the Sasquatch. He goes out into the woods and he prays as Sasquatch. He says that because of his new spirituality with Sasquatch, he's actually ran into him a couple of times out there, but he never takes pictures or bothers them. Bigfoot 911, those folks were out there one weekend and they said that they saw Bigfoot. and they had gone to the news and told them this. And then Mr. Mcgregor came forward and said, well, I was out in the woods that weekend, so I think they just saw me. And there was a little bit of a disagreement. It actually made like the world news. The BBC reported on it. And then Bigfoot 911 said, no, we definitely saw a figure that was like 8 feet tall, and you're not tall enough and you weren't fast enough. And he was like, no, really, I was out in the woods. So the sheriff had to actually release like a statement saying, please don't shoot at any Bigfoot in the woods, because it might be, you know,
Oh my
Bigfoot,
goodness.
or it could be the shaman that's out there. So let's all be safe. Let's all be careful. So, and I just thought that was a funny story to have made like worldwide news. This was back in 2017, but his website's really interesting. He's kind of combined Christianity and this worship of the Sasquatch. He makes his own suits. He goes out there and spends weekends communing with nature. Makes him happy.
Yeah, and I mean it's a free country and everything, but
I would be
still.
terrified if I saw that mask out in the woods. I have to.
Yeah, that is pretty frightening.
Yeah, and I hope he stays safe out there. I hope he doesn't get mistaken for Bigfoot or
If
something else.
someone's
Or a bear.
really,
Yeah, just stay
Yeah.
safe.
if somebody's honestly trying to find out the truth about Bigfoot and they see this guy from a distance, they are hopefully, for his sake, going to move closer and establish as a human being. But if they're
Right.
just really curious and they think that they have finally stumbled upon Bigfoot, he could get injured doing that. So
Yeah.
he may want to think about a different way of practicing his faith in Bigfoot.
We can send you the link to the website afterwards too. And one of the reporters from the Charlotte Observer, he's done a lot of stories on Bigfoot 911 and this gentleman right here. I can't remember his name. It's Mark something. But if you search Charlotte Observer Bigfoot, it'll pull up all of his articles. They're really interesting to go through and read. And the last thing I wanted to mention is North Carolina now has its own Bigfoot festival. It started back in 2018. It was started by John Bruner, who was the commander of Bigfoot 911. And he got some sort of honorary award from the mayor of Marion County, North Carolina, because the first festival brought 30,000 people in. And then the next festival brought in 50,000 people from all over the world. So it's been like this huge boom for their tourism. It's really helped the city out. And they didn't have it last year because of COVID, but they are planning to do it this year. I think the dates, they're saying it's going to be September 17th and 18th. And they're expecting maybe 100,000 people this year. And you can go and talk to the Bigfoot hunters. You can buy Bigfoot swag. They have a chocolate candy that they call Bigfoot poo. They sell that and people make a lot of money off their merchandise while they're there. And it looks like a fun time. So I thought I would mention that. Hopefully COVID will be over and we can all go out and do things like that again. And I think that's everything. Any questions about any local lore, any local stories? Anything you guys want to share? Any encounters? No?
Well, I got two technically.
Two?
Obviously, it wasn't by me. It was by family, because if it was by me, like, no, I wouldn't have known that there was Bigfoot, because I would have been out of there. So I'll start with the one that my grandmother told, and take it with a grain of salt, because she was telling little kids this. She lived, so I'm from Virginia, so all of this happened in Virginia. She is from Sylvatus, Virginia, which is teeny tiny little town. And so they lived in like a really small house, like basically out in the middle of nowhere. And she said that she would walk to and from school. And some evenings, like if she was walking home really late or like the sun was setting really quickly and stuff, like during the winter, sometimes she would like feel like she was being watched. And one time she looked over and she saw like red eyes looking at her, like from the woods. And later on that evening, they heard something, and she and her dad like both went into her sister's room at the same time, and something had like furry hand was like pulling her sister out of the window. And like by the time they like went out to get like a gun, because that's what you do, and come back in, he was from like, in relative terms, their house is here, and then there's like a hill that kind of goes up here, and then there's like a fence. He had went from their house all the way up to about here and dropped the sister somewhere over in here and got to the top when they like left the room, grabbed the gun, came back in the room. So he was super crazy fast. And of course the dad shot at him, and he did like this horrible, like high pitched like scream thing. And so, grain of salt, grandmother, grandchildren.
Did anyone else in your family support this story? Were they like, oh yeah, that happened?
All of my uncles and my dad and my aunt all are like, yeah, Mima didn't lie about that. Like, that was a thing. And of course, I didn't know any of her sisters and whatnot. So,
gotcha.
According to my dad, Mima was not lying to me. And the other story is from my aunt, which is on my mom's side. Her grandparents live off of the Blue Ridge Parkway. And she was there, and they have like this huge cow field basically in their backyard. It's like a whole mountain. And she was down at the bottom of the cow field, and her and her cousin were playing in the creek that was down there. And she was doing something and like splashed him or something. And he looks up at her, and she tells me, she's like, to this day, if you do this to me, I might smack you. Because he like pointed, and he's like, what is that? So you can't point at her and be like, what is that, pointing behind her, because she's going to get upset. Out. Yeah, she's going to freak out. And she turns around and she sees this creature like in the woods, and she says that it was super duper tall, and it had like red-ish eyes, and it was like covered in fur. She had no idea what it was. And it like stepped out from behind a tree. So she got a better picture of it, and then of course they hightailed it back up to her grandparents' house, as you do.
Right.
So there's my two stories.
Interesting.
Wow.
But you don't believe them. You sound skeptical.
Family.
We're all family.
Obviously.
That is so. I like that you preface it by we're from Virginia.
Yeah, well,
I grew up in Tennessee, and I heard lots of Bigfoot stories growing up, but I never saw anything. But I was always fascinated by the stories.
I'm glad that I never saw anything.
I want to see a Bigfoot if they're real.
Okay, well, I'll take you out to Sylvatus. Apparently, he lives in Sylvatus, so.
Okay. We can go to the Bigfoot Festival. I think we should all get together and go.
Yes, field trip. History's Mysteries field trip.
Library field trip.
I like that. That's just it doesn't even matter if you've seen anything. It's you keep on enjoying believing in it. So you create a festival. We go. We talk about all this stuff, like because there's a bunch of nutty stuff in the woods. We're probably the nuttiest things in the woods. And that's the best science story ever, is that we will continue to like search for Bigfoot. It doesn't even matter.
Until we get some concrete evidence.
Yep.
Right. Exactly. Footprints. Bring
like Gwen said, we need better footage. It needs to be less fuzzy.
Right.
Be closer.
In one of the videos that I was watching about it, somebody like there was the classic like the skeptic and then the believer and stuff like going back and forth, and like the skeptic was like, well, if they're all around the world and they've been around for so long, where's all the bones? And the believer was just like, okay, have you ever tried to find bones in the forest, because like all of the creatures there eat all of them.
Well, we just did Richard III last time, and it took him 500 years to find his bones. So
thank you.
And he was famous. So,
and he was a king. He was a king.
Right?
But there was only one of him. If he were a whole species, then
fair enough.
honestly, doesn't the skeptic want to not like? Doesn't the skeptic want to believe too? Honestly,
I'm
because
skeptical,
Right.
but I would love for there to be a Bigfoot.
the
Yes,
skeptic,
I
like the world.
guess.
Yes, the world is way more interesting if you know that Bigfoot is still like, you might still meet him. The world is way more interesting if you might
You remember
still
the Scholastic Book
meet
Fairs when you were a
Bigfoot.
kid? Did you guys have?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
My first Scholastic Book Fair purchase was a book about Bigfoot. That's what
Oh, okay.
So like ever since I was like a little kid in Tennessee, listening to people talk about Bigfoot.
Well, you
And I
never know
grew up
what's
in a
in the woods.
very, yeah, I grew up in the woods, so you know,
You don't know what's in the
It's always
woods. You don't
been
know
like
what's in
that.
the ocean. Like,
right. It's always been part of my life,
you know,
but I still don't know, and I'm so old now, and I still don't know.
I
I
would be
just,
excited.
I wish they would give us something more. There's never a body. There's never, supposedly this one person who is a veterinarian
Right.
has some of the fur. We don't know if anyone else has examined the fur to see if it's related to any other species or what it could be. So there's just that one person. She hasn't shared the hair with any other scientist so that they could confirm what she found. And
Right?
there's never really anything.
It's I heard a really nutty story from my parents. My parents are in Virginia. That's where I grew up, and we're just in like a little suburb. That's it. Just like a little neighborhood, and they have bird feeders out back. And I grew up playing in the neighborhood and in the woods. We had forts. We played in the neighborhood, and the last time I talked to them, they were like, "A full-grown mama bear has been visiting their bird feeder," and I'm like, "Dad,
Oh.
I've been playing in those woods. Like it's not those are the woods little kids play in. They're little woods. They're tiny woods. They're not like, they're like they're enough woods that you can kind of like have a dollhouse in and like maybe like, hide out for an afternoon. There's a family of bears living in the woods, and we've never, like they come out every night and eat from my mom and dad's bird feeder. I'm
I
like,
didn't know that they ate bird seed. That makes me worry about my
what?
bird feeder.
Yeah,
I didn't know that either.
I'm
That's not good.
I am completely flummoxed. I'm completely surprised. And now, just based on that, I wouldn't be surprised if like the Loch Ness monster like flopped their way out of the underpass and just came over and just like rummaged around in my recycling bin.
That's a whole other topic. That's another cryptid we'll have to talk
I mean,
Yeah.
like cryptozoology, like in the modern age, like I'm just grateful that a mama bear and some kids are still enjoying the woods that I played in as a kid. But there's not much there. It's just weird to think of. It's like the Virginia. The East Coast is not really full of unexplored woods, and if people keep on seeing 6 foot tall like dudes covered in hair.
Right. Well, I do think it's interesting. I don't think we've had any real sightings around here. It's always up in Western Carolina. But that's where the Bigfoot hunters are. So I don't know if it's because of
Right.
the Bigfoot hunters that like
Well, we
sheep
got-
are going out there looking for Bigfoot. Maybe that's why we're seeing it.
We-
Or if that's just
we
where
got enough
Bigfoot lives.
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
are further out too. Like, we're not quite like in the woods. I'm surprised
Right.
we haven't seen anything from Asheville, because Asheville's
Well, it
like,
was close to Asheville. It was like 50 miles from Asheville. So yeah, maybe up in the mountains, there's a mountain Bigfoot.
Between that and the Brown Mountain lies like the Bigfoot 911, like to justify having an entire emergency phone number.
I didn't ask them how to pronounce that. It might be Bigfoot 911, but I think it's 911. Like, I'm not sure like how they prefer. I couldn't get any of those guys to reach out to me,
If we call
but
them,
I understand
they
one
could
of them
be
was the leader
Well,
has been ill.
right?
the only conclusion that I've made from any of the research that we've made is that Southern Bigfoot is a jerk and Northern
Yes.
Bigfoot is really nice because he did like nice things for campers, and Southern Bigfoot's just a jerk.
Yeah, he just howls at people. And
So I'm not
That was
down with the Southern Bigfoot. He's just not cool.
That was your operating premise for this entire program.
It was. I did so much research and like beginning. I'm like, I want to prove that Southern Bigfoot isn't so much of a jerk. No, he's a jerk.
We didn't even talk about the what is it? I want to say soggy bottom monster, but that's not it. The
Boggy
boggy something.
Creek something.
He's in Arkansas. He was a jerk.
Oh.
Like he was taking stuff from
I'm
people.
telling you, it's like northern United States, fine. This section down, just jerks. They're just jerks. Just messing with people, breaking stuff, scaring people to death.
Well, we are working.
Bigfoot's being nice.
We are working as a system to address that disproportionality.
Our goal is the library to make Southern Bigfoot realize he's being a jerk.
Yeah, it's important. Southern Bigfoot needs to feel like he is acknowledged. So you got to see him.
All right. Well, it was fabulous having you guys. I hope you had fun.
Yeah.
Next topic, we're talking about the Donner Party.
You guys know about the Donner Party? Because I did not know about them until we started researching this. So it was
It's fascinating. Some of the things
it's a dark topic.
Telling
It's
me.
an interesting discussion, I think.
Yeah. So hopefully you can join us for that one. So next time is the Donner Party. Then we're going to talk about the Bell Witch.
Yay!
And then is it the UFO? Or are we doing UFOs after that?
I think it's
Yes,
UFOs after.
Yeah, Mason. Mason's got our UFOs.
Shag Harbor UFO incident.
Which I don't know anything about Shag Harbor, so you'll have to bring us all up to speed.
Yes, we're all learning here. But yeah, so we hope that you guys can come to the next ones. And thanks for coming.